I tell my customers or potential customers, test it, do a side by side, deliver. Here's a case on me. Give it to your best customers and see what they say.
Before we get into today's episode, I just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Edge Pizza Ovens. And I'll tell you exactly why I like these guys. George pulls up to your shop to bake your pizza, your dough, your sauce, your cheese, your toppings through their oven to show you the quality that you can get from that conveyor. It's not like you're shopping online for an oven or you got to go to a showroom and talk to a sales guy. We're talking about, let's see what your product does through the oven with a test bake. He loads up the test truck and drives to wherever you are. It is the best process I've ever seen when it comes to showing people what these ovens can do. And I'm not just saying it because they sponsored the show. I'm using an Edge oven here at the shop. You guys have seen it, love it to death. It literally changed how we run and how we operate as a pizzeria. So I encourage you to just check him out. If you want to see where George is headed, he's all over the country all the time. Just follow hashtag Where's George Today on Instagram, on Facebook. Also, if you want to book a test bake, you want to see what it can do, you want to see him come to your shop, or you don't think he can match your bake, your quality, go to edgeovens.com/test bake. I'll put the link in the show notes, but you can schedule a test bake for yourself and see the results. Now let's get into the episode.
As I was saying, got into the pizza business with my family many, many years ago, and thought I wouldn't be in the business. My dad told me, listen, either, you're going to go to school or you're going to run a pizza place one day. And it was a tiny place. It was, our first store was about 800 square feet. We were open from 4 to 10. It was a high volume location. It was pickup and delivery only. No air conditioning. I was telling my kids, you want to know what it feels like. I could tell by your smile what it means to be a kid.
Yeah.
So, intense. Just to kind of give you some perspective just on the volume, because I think you'll appreciate this being a guy that was in the business or in the business. We were doing 4 to 10, pickup and delivery only. We're doing about $20,000 a week.
Jeez.
So it's a $1 million store, 4 to 10, pickup and delivery. So it's just, you're going. It's, go, 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 go. Summertime, the candle would melt without any flame. It was that hot in there. In the winter, it was nice because you had we had a Middleby Marshall oven. It was old school oven. Kept the whole place warm. And
one of the big, like the rotating Middleby's?
Right.
Yeah, I love.
Which are the best ovens, by the way.
So you had 800 square feet, but half of it was taken up by the oven.
Right. There's a tiny little walk-in cooler, and then we had just reach-in freezers. So, and I remember I'd take towels and I would wet them and I put them in the freezer, and then half hour later, I'd grab it and put it around my neck just to cool my body down. I'm like, I'll never do this. Went to school, went through the whole process. I'm actually an investment banker by trade. And a long time ago now, a dear friend of mine who was in the restaurant business, like, hey, you know what, Sal, would you be interested in putting up some money? I know you know the pizza space. He was in the food service business. He goes, I'll run it. You put up the money, pay yourself back, your typical entrepreneur. And I'm an entrepreneur, it's in my blood. I'm like, yeah, we'll do it. So did it. And then I think it was 3 weeks later after I bought this place. It was a nice little place in Elmwood Park, Illinois. I made a couple of tweaks. I changed the cheese. I went to a Grande mozzarella, which is a high buttermilk content mozzarella. My dear friend was in the food distribution business, made the sausage for me specifically. I like a heavy fennel-laced sausage. So I made a couple of minor tweaks. I went to a Saporito tomato, and I'm going to say, let's call it a month after owning it, Chicago Tribune comes in. Ted Start Pizza, we didn't know, and we end up being ranked in the top 3 best pizzas in all of Chicago.
Within a month.
Anyone who's from Chicago knows, I always say it, it's kind of like being the most attractive Victoria's Secret model. You're pretty attractive if you're the most attractive Victoria's Secret model. If you're the best pizza in Chicago, you got a good pizza.
Was it a thin crust, or were you doing like
it was a deep dish.
Deep dish Chicago
that's
style?
what we were known for. But I'll tell you, I love deep dish. I think our thin crust is better. So anyway, business just took off. I ended up resigning my position. I was with Merrill Lynch at the time because business was great. And we were making a lot of money. And the one regret I had is I probably should have taken it in at that point when I had the wind behind me, because back then, this was back in '89. So when you get an award like that, it's not like today. You'll attest to this. Today, I see best pizza everywhere. So some social media said it's best pizza. Local magazine says best pizza. But back then, best pizza meant best pizza. When you got that award, it meant something. So, and there wasn't social media, back in the day. So people would come in and order pizza, and I remember the lines were 2 hours long. And I probably should have taken that concept and blown it up. I didn't. We did very well. Then a few years later, a dear friend of mine approached me who was are you familiar with Portillo's? Where are you again?
Yeah.
Where are you headquartered out of?
I'm just outside of Tampa, so we do have I think we have 3 Portillo's
Okay, so
locations around here.
Portillo's.
So yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I know Portillo's. Love Portillo's.
Yeah. So one of my dear friends, godfather to my son, he said he was with the Portillo group, and he actually helped develop a lot of their pasta concepts. He wasn't in the pizza. Portillo doesn't have pizza, but he did the pasta concept for part of the Portillo concept, which was Data Barnelli was, I think, the pasta concept. He's like, hey, what do you think about doing a pizza place together? And I got the beef and the pasta, and you got the pizza. So we got together, and so we opened up a few locations, and that's what I recently sold. About, I guess it's been almost 5 months now, 4 or 5 months, sold out of my concept there. And now I'm focusing exclusively on this product, which I also developed back in '99, which is Pizza Protector. And
What's Pizza Protector?
product. I don't know if you had an opportunity to go on our website, but it basically helps keep pizzas crispy. And being in the business as long as I've been, and back in '99 when I developed the product, we'd always have customers complain about 2 things. Well, more than 2 things, but the one reoccurring complaint was, especially with delivered pizzas, that it was soggy and that the cheese would stick to the cardboard. And, for some of my friends who are in the engineering space, they shared with me that as product gets recycled more, the fibers get shorter and shorter. So cardboard ends up giving a lot quicker than it used to on recycled cardboard. So what's happening is that when people would have their pizza sit for a little bit, they pick up a slice, and with the slice would come a bunch of paper, right? Well, I'm like, how do we prevent that from happening and also keep the product elevated to keep the crust crispy? Because people would say, especially delivered pizza, by the time it got to me, the crust was all wet underneath. It's sitting in a puddle of grease. So there's the optics, there's the reality, which is a soggy crust, and then there's the cheese sticking to the cardboard. So real simple, FDA approved polypropylene plastic that sits underneath the pizza. You cut on it. It's very malleable. Designed a dispensing unit that go with it. So for high volume stores, it's designed by a guy who's cut thousands and thousands of pizzas and it's heard thousands of complaints for all kinds of reasons, but that particular, and we've been off to the races. I mean, we sell all over the country. We distribute out of Arizona and Chicago.
Okay.
A lot of our business is done through distributorships. We just recently went to the website to just give some of our customers that don't have access to some of the larger distributors like the Cisco's and the US Foods and the PFG groups, which are our customers.
Direct line
Or
to
they
you
can
that
go
way.
online and order.
So understanding the problem that it solves when it comes to, distributing the heat and eliminating the grease or some of the extra moisture that comes with the box. What was the process like creating it? Like, I'm sure you had to go through quite a few tests before it actually performed the way you wanted it to. Like, I want to go back to '99. Like, what was your thought process like then? Like when you decided you wanted to do it and then going through the pain of developing it.
Right. So the way I came up with it is, and maybe you do this in your business, what we would do, we had a metal screen that we would put underneath the pizza when customers would ask for it to be extra crispy. So during the cooking process, once the pizza is par baked or close to being par baked, we would slide underneath it a metal screen. And that's kind of what get the idea. It's okay, well, obviously I can't package a metal screen with every pizza that I deliver because it'd be cost
costs you a
prohibitive, of
ton.
course.
Yeah.
But I said, that's an interesting, relationship that between the crust and keeping it crispy. So I'm like, what kind of disposable item? I don't know if in your business you guys do circles. Some people do like parchment paper underneath the pizza, kind of keep a separation between because the box will get wet, right? And that's compromised. So there's all kinds of things that are people use to keep that box, the integrity of the bottom good, right? So I'm like, what could we do? I mean, we have a circle, but all the circle's doing is it's absorbing the grease. The pizza's still sitting on it. So I went back to that metal netting. Well, I'm like, okay, what could we do that's disposable and still cost effective? And one of my dear friends is an engineer, he's a chemical engineer. And I said, is there a way? He's like, yeah, absolutely. There's a polypropylene plastic base that you could use that won't melt. So the beauty of our screen is that, and we've tested this every way to Sunday, it doesn't break down at all. So there's no plastic at all in the product. And we tested it backwards and forward.
I was going to ask, like, is there any risk of like microplastics? I know,
Right.
pizza's taken this turn recently where, everyone's, health conscious, and we got, flour debates going on all over the country. And there's all this worry about, I guess, cancer causing agents, and not to put it there, but my first thought was, if you cut on it, does that in turn release any microplastics?
Right.
But you said you guys have tested and know.
Right. We tested both the plastic to see that the integrity of the plastic was intact. And then we tested the actual dough, the bread, the crust underneath. So that doesn't break down. The heat of the pizza does not break down the plastic in any way. Obviously, you're not going to want to cook on it. Obviously, if you take a knife and you work it hard,
if you're trying to cut it, you can cut it.
Right. Just like the cardboard, right? I mean, when you cut a pizza, how you guys do, but we actually, our place, we cut the pizza on the box, right?
Right.
And obviously the screen's underneath, the box doesn't get torn up, just like the plastic doesn't. It's malleable enough where in a high volume environment, because it's designed to be in a dispensing unit, you could pull it out, put it on and cut, because you don't want to slow the process down. As you know, on a Friday night when you got 5-6 pizzas coming out at once, that
every
means
second matters.
5 or 6 coming, right?
Yeah.
So you got to move. And so it was designed to be valuable enough where you could put it on there, but also sturdy enough where it protects the product. And I tell my customers or potential customers, test it, do a side by side, deliver. Here's a case on me. Give it to your best customers and see what they say. And the story that I like to share is my dad. So my father is the quintessential immigrant. Still to this day speaks very little English. He's a hard-nosed Sicilian man who knows everything, but knows nothing. I say that kiddingly. When I first brought the product to him, he's like, "What are we going to do? I'm not doing this. I'm not going to spend any more money than I have to spend." And I'm like, "All right, you know what, Papa, just try it and see what you think." Well, now my dad always got free products, so it was never an issue for him. But once
it wasn't about cost.
Right. Once he started using it, there was no turning back. He'd get down to a case and he'd be blowing my phone up. So he's a great example of someone who did everything the old school way, who resisted change, who then, when he saw it and the impact it had on the product for pennies, and even if it wasn't pennies, it got to the point where my dad just realized how important this product was. I share that with people that are a little skeptical of it, but my retention rate with customers, once you start using the product, you're hooked. So I will warn anyone who would be interested in using it that once they start using it, unfortunately, you can't go back because your customers will ask for the product.
Yeah.
And, my reorder rate is in the high 90 percentile. If you don't reorder, it's because you closed the store down, you shut down, but it's not because you found something that addresses what my product addresses, because there's nothing on the market. There's people that say they address it, but there's nothing on in the market that addresses the concern and the issues that my product does.
I love that. When you talk to someone who is, like your father, that's very very old school, or I'm sure you go out, you still go out, you probably still visit pizzerias, and you get your box and you got that parchment paper in there, right? Is that an easy one, like a layup for you? Like, hey, here, let me show you something. Is that an easy one? Like, just let me drop this off on you. Here's my number. Call me in a week.
Right. It is like people, you know how it is. People always resist change. And it's like, once I tell them it's free to use it and then they use it, they realize it. Parchment paper, I've seen aluminum foil. I've seen like there's these, obviously the circles, the cardboard circles, but then there's another paper product that says that it does what my product does. And I'm like, look, it just does it. It's not, obviously I want to sell product, right? I'm a businessman. I want to sell product. But like you, I know you want to help pizzerias be successful. I know my product will help you be more successful. I just know it. If your product's great, it's going to keep it great. Everyone's got their own taste buds and what they like and what they don't like, right? My product is not going to make your product better than it is, but it's going to keep your product the way it was when it came out of the oven. It is going to be as close to a fresh product as it can be. I mean, it doesn't change your product, of course, but it does keep your product from getting greasy and moisture and cardboard sticking to the cardboard and all those things. Yeah, but to answer your question, when I see that, I'm like, this is a no-brainer. Like, especially the cellophane, which is like, you're basically saying just keep the pizza in a pool of grease. The pizza's got no chance.
No chance.
No chance. No chance.
Well, I think I love your experience too, because you were in that unique position where every one of your pizzas was going out the door, right? Like in the beginning, like going back to your dad's place, like no one was dining in and having that. It was all takeout, so you had to fix it.
Right. Yeah, it was every pizza.
Does it work differently for different types of pizza? Like, can you use it for a square pizza or, pizza that came out of a pan? Can you use it, does it work just as effectively on a wood fire pizza that's going into a box and going out?
Yeah. So that's a great question because there are pizzas out there that won't benefit from my product. So if you have an extraordinarily dry product with very little ingredients on it, for instance, like you mentioned and we have customers that are in this space that do wood burning pizzas, that traditional margaritas, those kind of style pizza.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very light product. They love it and they use it, and that's terrific. But if I'm being super honest with you, this product is really designed for pizza that has items on it, right? So if you have cheese on it, typically a margherita pizza's got very little cheese, so there's very little moisture. But if you have cheese on it, you have any kind of ingredient on it, and it's saucy, it benefits. To answer your question about whether it's a square or circle, absolutely, it addresses it. We have three sizes. We have a 10 by 10, a 12 by 12, and a 14 by 14. I tell customers that are using the 14 by 14 because they have a 14-inch pizza. And I'm like, listen, you don't have to use a 14 by 14. You know this in the pizza space. The moisture and the problems, they occur
happen in the center.
Right. And I try to tell my customers, I'll sell it to you. It's in the interest of full disclosure, it's a high margin item for me. The 14s, I make more money as a percentage than I do the 10s, but you don't need it. If a 14 by 14 is your largest, a 10 by 10, honestly, a 10 by 10 will work up to a 16-inch pizza. Because
that was my next question, because I saw your sizes and I'm like, man, can I use it with a 16 or an 18-inch pizza? What I sell.
Yeah. And 18, you can, and I have plenty of people that do. Quite frankly, I did. In my locations, we used a 10 by 10 and we had an 18-inch pizza. So we used it all the way up to 18. It's right there. You're right on the cusp of maybe wanting to go to a 12-inch screen on an 18-inch pizza. But again, we used it and we sold a lot of 18-inch pizzas. Actually, it was our number one selling pizza, was the 18-inch pizza. we had a certain promotion that I think pushed customers to more times than not, a lot of families as well. But yeah, you can go with the 10 by 10 for sure to 16 very comfortably. And the deep dish pizza obviously benefits immensely from it, but any thin pizza that's got ingredients on it, yeah, it's a game changer. It really is.
How did you wrestle with your financial side, your financial background, and what's like taboo in the pizza industry, which is adding cost to the product, to the end product? Like how do you fight that battle internally?
Right. That's a good question. And that's one of the questions that I had to navigate through with my dad. Again, he had it free, so it wasn't as much of an issue, but when he questioned whether others would use it because of cost, food cost, as you know, is a huge driver. And in today's environment, I get the sensitivity of it. I get it absolutely 1,000%. I live it. It just takes one customer, losing that one customer, and you've really handled enough business to do 500 pizzas. So you have to ask yourself, is it worth a few pennies? The food cost is a point oh something. So it's not going to move the needle, but I get it that when people are sensitive to it, 'cause it's like, geez, what am I doing? My cheese has gone up. Today, a piece of tomatoes might be, $30 more than it was last week. I mean, we know this. I mean, lettuce. So in all pizzerias, we'll have for most pizzerias, we'll have a salad and stuff. So I get food costs, and I'm always looking at that. And when I was in the restaurant space, every day I would look at those numbers and make sure that we were hitting them. But it's trivial. It takes one customer replacing one pizza to address the cost of a case of screens. So to me, it's a no-brainer. And it's times like this where I think it's more important than ever to put the best product out, right? I mean,
100%,
competition is not,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not getting easier.
You have to be better. Yeah.
Right. You and I know, you're much younger than me, but back in the day, I didn't have a ton of competition when I was in the pizza business. So even if I fell down a couple times, where are you going? Today, it's not just the pizza competition, it's everything else, right? There's a million different options, right? You want shawarma, you want subs, there's 14 different sub places you can go to. Whatever you want, it's out there, right? I mean,
yeah, I think the expansion of just delivery in general made everyone your competition, where
right
back in the day, only the pizza guy and the Chinese restaurant were actually delivering food. Right. And now you can get anything from anyone.
Right. I mean, Amazon will start delivering things to you. I mean, I know because my wife, we have 15 boxes, Amazon boxes in front of our house almost on a daily basis. So, you're absolutely right. In today's environment, with competition from all different sectors being very present in everyone's life, it is more important than ever to make sure your product is perfect and it delivers perfect. Because that's one thing we're seeing is, in my stores, on a Friday night, I'd have 17 drivers. That's how much delivering I was doing. And, I would say we're more like a logistics company because 50% of our product was going out, more than 50, and delivery. So making sure that your product gets to the customer right. And the beauty about pizza is that if it's packaged right and it's planned out right. So the pizza's coming out, delivery drivers are taking it, it's not sitting, all the things that I'm sure, you deal with and have dealt with being in the space, right? It's, again, I say we're a logistics company because making sure that everything kind of falls into place where the pizza doesn't sit, but pizza's still terrific. It's the best, as far as I'm concerned, item to be delivered. If it's delivered right, it's the best. And I do think it's still the best value for people, families, right? I mean, you could still feed a family and it costs you $30 to feed a family of four, where, I don't know, last time you went to like a Cane's or something. I went to Raising Cane's and we got a couple of things. It was like $50 and it was
easy. I got 3 boys, and a trip to Chick-fil-A is a $80 trip.
Right. It's nuts.
No matter what.
Right. It's good. It's tasty, but it is very expensive. Pizza is still the best. in my mind, it's still the best deal in town.
I agree. Even the folks that are at the top of the market when it comes to price, it's still a great value because you're rarely ever going to feed just one person with a pizza.
Right, right. And there'll always be some leftovers. Because honestly, I think cold pizza is the best pizza. I love cold pizza, and I mean I'll take it and just kind of tying back to the pizza protector. It's great as you put the whole box in the refrigerator and then you open it up, and especially once the cheese cools down, that's when it's really important to have something underneath it because it for sure will tear the cardboard. Are you a cold pizza guy or?
I sometimes it depends on the toppings. Like if
Gotcha.
it's, sometimes I can try some cold pizza, but I still haven't even gotten to the point where I like cold finishers on hot pizza. That's like a big thing now too, where there's, cold ricotta or, stracciatella or something, and people are doing these finishers. And I'm not even there yet. I'm still very much
I
a
can't do it.
traditionalist, I
I
guess.
can't do it. Or the arugula on it. I can't
Yeah, yeah.
figure
I'm not
out it.
there yet. We don't do that
Yeah,
in my shop. We're very much a old school New York style shop, but
gotcha.
there's a lot of folks that are doing it, and nothing against it. I love, the
Right.
innovations and all of the things in pizza, but no, I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm more of a I'm a sausage. Look, sausage and onion. In my mind, you a pizza. I remember having these conversations with customers, and they would be like, "This is what I want." I'm like, "I get it," but once you put 7, 8 ingredients on a pizza, you're not tasting anything anymore.
Yeah,
And I prided myself on the fact that we use we used the cheese, Wisconsin blend cheese. Grande was the name of the company, the brand. And I mean nothing by saying this, of course, but the product had a high buttermilk fat content. The yield was incredible. It's expensive cheese. It's an expensive mozzarella. And you know, we never deviated on cheese. If you remember, like maybe it's expensive today, but about 5 or 6 years ago, cheese went through the roof. Like the cost,
I remember.
yeah, they were having a hard time with procuring milk. And I remember food distributors coming to us and saying, "Hey, you want to cut this?" So we cut with three different cheese blends and tested everything. And we would have saved because we were selling. I was going through a couple thousand pounds of cheese a week. So you do the math out of one location, the numbers get
Yeah,
big. You know this, right? So you annualize that number. And my partner and I were just lockstep. Like we're like, yeah, we'll test it to see. But we never deviated. We always stayed consistent with the product. We never deviated on our sauce, no matter what. I mean, tomato prices can go through the roof. We always stayed with Saporito. We never deviated on our sausage. We never deviated on our cheese. Those are things that we just never deviated. And kind of tying back to my whole point was when you use good products like that, you don't want to overburden the pizza with a bunch of items.
yeah.
You just, you don't. And I would tell customers that get a kick out of it. Okay. I'm like, just trust me on this. Let the cheese and let the crust and let the sauce do the talking. The ingredients are there kind of you know, like a woman with a purse. The ingredient is the purse.
It's an accessory, a complement to it. The dough and sauce and cheese, that's the show.
Right. Right.
What's your go-to pizza? So 5 months, what are you doing for your pizza fix right now? Are you going
Yeah.
back? Are you riding by the shops, dropping in?
Yeah. It's hard. Can I tell you? I miss it like crazy. I, I was kidding about how it was when I was a kid, but I love the restaurant space. I love being around people. I love the action. I'm a cook. I mean, I I'm not a trained chef, but I could put anything together and I love doing it. It's my love language is cooking for people. I always cook for my family. So to answer your question, it's hard to find, I'll go back to my places, of course, but I'm not in that market anymore. I'm in Arizona. My stuff was in Chicago. So it's only when I'm
Thanks.
in Chicago and when I'm here, in Arizona, it's hard to find places that that are anywhere close to it. And it's like my first love. It's a girl that you just no girl could ever compare it to. That's kind of my thing. So I don't know. Maybe one day I'll find something. I mean, I've actually
do you catch real estate out of the side of your eye? Like, that could work.
yes, and my wife jokes with me, kind of like your wife's saying about we're back in the business. My wife, shit, why are you talking to this leasing agent about this or why? And if I found something super close to my house where I can jump on my Vespa and go every day, I would do it. I don't know if I have the energy at this stage of my life to do what I did to build what I built, because we built everything from scratch. With the obviously I purchased that first location, but it was a tiny little store with nothing. And I built it up. So I don't know if I have the energy to do that again, but I'd love, if something came up where it was a little pizza place where I can come in and make some pizzas, because, I'll tell you a real quick story. You might get a kick out of it. I told you I love being in the kitchen. Well, I moved out to Arizona a few years ago, and so I have warehouses here for my pizza protector product. And I also do some other business stuff out here, but I'd fly back to Chicago probably every 4 weeks, 3-4 weeks. And I pop my head into the stores. So, I don't know, maybe about a year ago or so, I pop into one of my locations, my high volume store, and it's busy. And, and I asked the general manager, I'm like, hey, what do you need? And he's like, oh, no, you're fine. I'm like, no, I want to work. So I throw an apron on and I go into the pizza station and I start making pizzas, and I'm next to the guys and they're watching me. And we use raw sausage, bulk sausage. So it's an artwork,
Yeah.
our pizza is not you weigh something and you throw it on. I mean, it's all done with the eye, and you stretch the dough out, you roll it out. I mean, everything is done just by feel, right? So I'm making pizzas and I'm just killing it, man. Putting cheese on it. They're like, this guy's like incredible. So the guy next to me looks at me and he's like, hey, I'm so glad that you came on board. What's your name? And I tell him, my name's Sal. He's like, I got to tell the manager what a great hire you are. I'm like, please let him know.
Let them know.
So
Bring
at the end
me
of the
back.
night, yeah, the guy comes back to me. He's like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, what you sorry about? I'm like, I love that you were talking to me like this. And the manager's like, no, this is, he's one of the owners. I had met this young man before. So I'm like, I just love doing what I do. And, I can go back in any kitchen and I can whip up pasta dishes, beef sandwiches, sausage sandwiches, obviously pizzas, great with steaks. So, if the right opportunity came, I could see myself popping my head in and maybe if I found some young buck who wanted to run it on a daily basis and needed more like a consigliere, I can be a good consigliere for someone,
Yeah. So everybody needs a good backing too, man.
That's right. That's right.
So, spending, as much time as you have in the pizza business, you've learned some lessons too, right? You've learned a lot of what to do and what not to do. And, to get to the point to have an exit the way that you did, you had to be, in a profitable situation. What's your best advice to a young operator who's looking to just, turn that corner from why did I quit my job to this is the best thing I've ever done in my life?
That's a great question. It's all about the details. It's you sweat the small stuff. I have people say don't sweat the small stuff. That's nonsense. In the restaurant space, it's all about the small stuff.
Yeah.
And everything matters. And you lead by example. You cannot be an owner that walks around like I call them like clipboard managers. Like we don't have any of those in my organization or in my previous organization. Everyone saw that knew me. They're like, wow, this guy is working his butt off. I mean, I dishes, no matter what, I was on the front line with my people. So first, you got to do that. Your people, your team needs to know that you're the hardest working guy in the room. And period. And if that's not part of it, don't get into the restaurant space. If you're going to go and open a restaurant and run a restaurant, if you're not willing to do that, go be an accountant or go work at a bank because it's not going to work.
Save yourself the stress.
Right, right. The greatest generals, right? What has history taught us? So the greatest generals that have fought in wars were fighters. Like
Yes.
they were on the front line with their people. And the restaurant is like a war. Every night it's about, this, right? I mean, you know this just as much as well as I do. So that's front and center. Second, explain to your people why you do what you do. So, you know, I would tell the managers, like, if you're telling one of our team members, hey, take the cheese, or when you're sausage is a good example. One thing that I was super anal about is when you're putting sausage on a pizza, you take it all the way quarter inch to a half inch off the crust. And I'd explain to my team, like, why is that so important? Like, to me, it's more important that the sausage goes way out to the crust than, and it's all, you want sausage all over the pizza, but that is the most important part because the fat from the sausage melts in the oven. And what it does, it permeates the crust and it creates that golden texture on the crust. And people, the first thing that they do is they eat with their eyes. I always tell, customers eat with their eyes. Whatever their eyes tell them, typically the stomach will agree, right?
That's
So
right.
if it doesn't look good, it's probably not going to taste good, or at least mentally you're going to feel that way. So presentation is important, but I'd explain it to my employees. I'm like, listen, this is why I'm telling you this. Sauce all the way to the edge, a fingernail from the crust, and then the sausage or pepperoni all the way. So when the fat melts, it permeates the crust and it creates that beautiful golden color, which it just automatically people
Yeah.
see it. Box opens up, cheese, spread it out. Like, so explain to your people, you got one employee, you got 100 employees.
Tell
Explain
them
to them
why.
why you do what you do, right? Same thing in the oven. Like, if half the pizza was cooking, so if you got a half sausage and green pepper, half cheese pizza, what's going to happen? The cheese side's going to cook faster than the sausage and green pepper side, right? Common sense. So we put a piece of aluminum foil on the side where the cheese was, so the pizza can. And I would explain it to, it seems like common sense, but you have a 16-year-old kid, maybe his first job, doesn't understand why are you so, because I want the color, the cheese side and the sausage and green pepper side, they got to look the same. I want them to look identical color wise. One can't be white and one's brown, and so we cover with aluminum foil. So you balance the cooking process. So I'm giving you a long answer to a short question. Fight fight with you be there on the front line with your people, sweat the details, and explain to your team why you do what you do. That's
I
a create a
love that.
culture.
I love that. There's also this culture of, probably for some of the same reasons that you said you never wanted to get into this. I'll never do this. There this thought that if I start doing this, I'll never get out of this. This is where I'm gonna die here chained to this oven,
Right.
right? You know what I
Right.
mean? There's that thought where, this business is I'm a slave to this business. How do you and I'm thinking more on your, your financial background and some of the things that you've done. And I know you try to help folks understand, the financials and the business fundamentals, as well as protecting the pizza. You kind of do a lot of different things here. How do you help folks who have that mindset?
Yeah. So I could tell we were blessed with the good Lord blessed us. Sorry, my son just walked in. Sorry. Blessed us with success. But if you're getting into the restaurant business because you want a big pay day at the end, I don't get into the restaurant business. Don't. It is a labor of love, and you need to do it because you love it. And if you do all the right things, there will be an exit strategy. But as I'm not sure if you've been kind of in and out. Like, or did you sell some of your store? So we both know that the multiple, and we're not Amazon. We don't trade at 70 times earnings.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we did. You're lucky to get 3.5 times if you have a structure in place. So unless you're doing big volume, it's hard to walk away with walk away money. And it takes a long time to get to that point. It takes a lot of capital to get there. But it starts with every day doing the right thing. So whatever it is you're doing, it starts with every day doing the right thing if you want to build a business, because whether your earnings at the end of the day are $100,000 a year or whether they're $1,000,000 a year, if you're not doing the right thing every day, you're not going to get to either one.
Yeah. And if you don't
So,
have clean books, you'll never sell it.
right. Yeah. You know what? We could talk, you and I could talk about for that days. I mean, I would tell, I have friends of mine, that and they're a lot better about it. But it's like, listen, man, you got to keep, even, I know it's your business and I know you're thinking what's mine, but maybe the car wash doesn't belong on your P&L, right? I mean, and I understand as a business owner, the lure of that, right? Expensing things that aren't quite related to your business. I strongly encourage people to not do that. Whatever we kept our books, and one of the reasons why I got a good multiple is because of that. I mean, my books were spot on. I would make sure that everything we did was business related, so my margins were healthy. I mean, I was able to show bottom line 23%, which true bottom line. And once you add back owner benefits, the number gets even better. But it's because I kept it clean. But geez, there's so many guys that don't do that, and especially
it's common.
years. Yeah,
is very common, and I understand, especially in this, a single store operator. This is my bank account, because they're not running a business; they're just managing a checkbook.
Right.
And it feels like a personal account, and I've seen it over the years, and I've spent a lot of time in franchising. I've seen it over the years just really kill a deal.
Yeah.
And because it's just too messy. And
right.
It turns out the business is not as healthy as you said it was, or
right.
as healthy as you promised it to be. So that,
right.
I think that's, an important thing to put out there too. Clean books.
Yeah, if you want to get financing, I mean, that's hard to come by if your books don't look good. I mean, the SBA looks, if it's an SBA deal or any deal for that matter that requires financing. But I'm going to share one other thing that a lot of people don't talk about in our space, beyond the obvious of being able to sell the business at a decent multiple and showing the true integrity of your business. The other side of it is that the liability exposure, once you start, people don't realize this. Like I have so many friends of mine and family that are still in this space, and they're like, well, I'm safe. It's an LLC. No, you're not, because you've violated that corporate veil. And once you puncture that corporate veil by commingling, now and God forbid you have, a bar. We had a full bar in our store. So God forbid someone gets hurt, now, and it's an LLC, all my stores were individual. That's the other thing I would tell your listeners is that if you have multiple locations, don't be cheap. Get a master LLC, a series LLC, and have each entity be its own entity. Might seem redundant to guys like you and me, but a lot of people don't know that, and attorneys aren't advising them, and some people don't even use attorneys. But today with all the AI, you could probably get a lot of that information for free anyway. But separate LLCs, don't commingle funds. And because God forbid there's some kind of liability, they're coming after you personally. And if you got a successful business, you could. Yeah. And
that's too big of a risk to take too. I'm glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that, because that's important. That is something that's out there. Absolutely.
Yeah. And even if you don't have a bar, you have drivers on the street, right? I mean, delivery drivers. The amount of liability that restaurateurs have that they're unaware of is staggering.
Dude, I've talked to guys who are like, nah, it's too expensive to tack on a $4,000 non-own and hire policy. Like, are you serious?
Right. Until it isn't, until you're like, gosh, it's insurance, right? Feels like a waste of money until you need it. And you're like,
until you hit somebody, or until the oven catches fire, and then you can't open back up. So
right.
I appreciate that. So, speaking of insurance and protection, your product, how do we get it? How do I get it in the hands of somebody that's listening to this show?
Yeah. So, if you go to our site,
I'm going to hit you up for a free case for one of the listeners.
Of course, I'll send it to you. Pizzaprotector.com is our website. If you go to the bottom, there's a contact us. If you just ask for a sample, we'll send you out. We have sample cases. I'll get you a full case so you can really get the full breadth of what we do. There's 501 protectors per case, and there's 3 dispensers per case. So it's broken down 167 screens per box, and then there's 3 boxes. But we also have sample boxes that we send out there free of charge. There's only like 10 or 12 screens in there. They're 10 by 10, but you'll get the feeling of what this product does and how it works. We have distributors across the country that carry the product. If you're not in a market where your distributor carries it, you could order online, and we have some pretty aggressive pricing, subscription models that reduce pricing even more so. But yeah, it is, so you can get it a few different ways. If you're in a big market,
you're in all the major
where
houses.
You're at, you guys have, Cisco carries our product, Greco and Sons carries our product out in the Florida market. And PFG carries our product, the tag. Like I said, we have Shamrock, quite a few distributors. So our pricing is set up so we're not competing with our distributors. It's very important to keep my relationship with the distributors is pure. They're friends that have been friends for many years. So I don't try and compete with them. The price you're going to get from me is going to be very comparable to the price you get from a distributor. So it all depends.
It's not, you're not going to undercut them on your own.
No. And and some people like me, for instance, I didn't, because the volume was significant and I had so many other things to think about. I didn't want to be dealing with multiple vendors. So dealing with the food distributor made the most sense. But what's nice now we have subscription models, it's kind of a no-brainer. You can go in, okay, I know that I sell X amount of pizzas a month, and you don't have to worry about it. Every month it just shows up on your doorstep. So you don't have to think about, oh, did I order it? Did my guy tell me? This. Our team, as much as we love them, sometimes, no matter how many times you tell them it, don't wait till you're pulling the last one out of the box, right?
I imagine that's why you set up the three dispenser model, kind of gives you a natural warning.
Yeah. That's certainly part of it. And, and then the ability to lay it on the cutting table. Like I designed it for me, knowing the volume, that we do. I wanted something that I know I can do. And the volume we had is going to be comparable to major big stores. I'm like, if you can make it in this volume, in this environment, you can make it in any environment. So that's why the product was designed the way it was. But
Love it. Well, I do appreciate it. I'll put the link in the show notes to make sure not everyone, don't all go hit them up, but if you want to try it, go to the link, hit the contact us and request a sample case.